you go and you download all this information, download or research, and you're gaining all this information. And then you're feeling really aligned in your life. And you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm on this path.
Mm,
And so that means to me is that the heart and the mind coherence is like vibrating at the same
absolutely.
frequency. And then all of a sudden we get on the wobble. And that
Mhm.
means that, the heart is no longer aligning with that part of, I suppose, the journey or the mission. And maybe you're upgrading your information or you're getting new guidance from the heart, and then you feel uncomfortable and uncertain in life, and you feel like maybe you're lacking purpose or meaning, and then everything shifts again, and then we're back in coherence. And so that's just how
Mhm.
when someone's really low or whatever, I'm like, oh, you're just on the wobble. Welcome to season 1 of Beyond the Human. Remember who you are. I'm your host, Hazel Ray, singer-songwriter, experiencer, and messenger for those walking the edge of remembrance just like me. This is not a podcast to convince you of anything. Really, just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is a transmission, a call to the ones waking up, the ones remembering, the starseeds, the sensitives, the truth seekers, bridging science and spirit. If you're listening to this, you are ready. So let's remember together. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Human. I am your host, Hazel Ray, and today's episode is called Inside the Psychic Experience with Geraint Seren. So let's welcome Geraint. Yay!
Yay! Hi, how are
If we
you?
had an audience, they'd all be clapping. So we're all clapping right now.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
for coming
Great.
on. So I
Yeah.
wanted to sort of get right into it. And I think the first question will help me go and the audience to go back into your backstory. So the first question
Yeah.
is, when did you first realize you were receiving information that didn't feel like normal thinking or imagination?
Um, wow. Pretty much all started when I knew I could hear the kind of thoughts and understandings of animals. So as a kid, I could telepathically speak with animals, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew by watching their response that they were hearing me. So, so if there was an animal in the distance, and I would just have thoughts in my head and say, "Come over here," within
Mm-hmm.
seconds, and without any body language or gesturing or anything like that, it was just speaking telepathically, and they would listen, and this, yeah, would go on all the time. So I had a
So
really, really
when you
deep.
were like just on the telepathy there, so
Mhm.
most people would have inner dialogue that they hear. So
Yeah,
I have inner dialogue in my mind that sounds like my voice. So would
yeah.
you then actively use your voice and that's just the message you're sending, or is there a different way that you are projecting that information telepathically?
No, I'd be using my voice. So for me, and definitely as I've sort of trained and learned about being in the psychic world, is the inner voice, or the voice to send out, but also to hear, is
Mm-hmm.
unconditionally loving. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not based around judgments. So there's no
Interesting.
negativity, there's no attachment to an outcome. So then it becomes pure instinctual understanding. And that's what animals relate to. So even now, like my work's really broadened out, but when I work with an animal, I go into a zone and I kind of ask them to meet me halfway. So
Mm-hmm.
because I can't speak animal, like I've seen other
Woof,
animal
woof.
communicators. Yeah, yeah. Some people do, or
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
never, like how I'm speaking with you now is how I speak with an animal. It's that
Mm-hmm.
straightforward. I'll say that and speak English, but I'm sending it telepathically to a space that's neutral. There is no sound, and I ask them to do
Mm.
the same thing, and then I receive their clarity, and they receive mine. So
And so
for
have you
me,
had yeah, sorry, go.
no, that's all right. For me, it's the whole way through with spirits and psychic information, the whole lot. It's generally how I speak, like to everything and anyone. I actually don't speak any different to anyone, anything.
Yeah. So you're saying to me that what you speak through your mind is very similar to how you're speaking to me right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so do you have an example of where you have sort of sent out a message to an animal and they responded in a certain way that you found was really profound?
Yeah, well, one of the best situations was, I think I was about 16, 17, no, 17. And I was traveling overseas, and my background's in Wales or the UK, Wales and England. And I was hanging out with my grandmother, and we went to a park, and there was a dog there, and he was with his owners, and he was running around and playing. And all of a sudden, I could hear from him, come play. I was like, all right. So I just went up to him, and he's wanting to kind of muck around and sort of like play, like tag, like chasey, but what I realized is that I could hear him decide which way he was going to go, whether he was going to go right or left. And every time, because he thought about it and then did it, and I'd catch him out, and I'd go the direction he was going in. And I just thought that was normal because it was what we were doing. And he thought this was exciting because I could hear him. But my nan actually told people and said, I don't know if you knew what you were doing, but it was extraordinary to watch you because you knew every move he was making. And I went, yeah, because you kept telling me, the silly bugger. Like, you kept going, oh, I think I'll go left this time to confuse him. And I'm going, well, I'm hearing that. So I went left. And he's looking at me going, bugger. So it's that
with
clear.
that, yeah, and I suppose for a skeptic, potentially, they might ask, is it not just you potentially reading, the language of the dog, like the body language? Like, are you just really good at perceiving body language? But I suppose, and I think you and I have discussed this before, part of being psychic is reacting and responding to body language, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just part of I find anyway, the dialogue, the overall dialogue.
Yeah.
Because as any kind of psychic would say, the information's up around our crown chakra, around the top of our head. And I call it, like, if you're on a clock, was it 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. So I'm always standing up around here to receive, because the information will come through. And then as it comes through, the person shifts and kind of settles into the information. So you do become an amazing like observer of body language and tonality, and we all do it. Like, I do it a lot. It's like if someone asks me about someone and I'm not feeling that great about them, all of a sudden I'm crossing my arms, or I'm fidgeting, or I'm not sure, or my voice cracks a bit. So in a session, that's what I observe, because it's for me, it's energy. So the energy is constantly telling me the truth, as well as psychic information.
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes sense. I did have a friend of mine on the other week, and she's a Reiki healer, and she started off doing sort of intuitive readings, and she would say a lot of the time she felt like she was just reading the person's energy. But then she's like, that's part of it. It's not always about like receiving visions and images and all the rest of it,
No. You're basically reading a map. A map of potential, which is the future possibilities that the person's already thinking about. So you're actually not picking up new information. It's not new. It's already there within the person. So it's all
like
about
a knowing. So you're like exposing the knowing.
Absolutely.
All right. So while we're there with how you're sort of receiving it, the messages, I suppose, some psychics receive like visions, some receive smells, tastes, all of the senses. Like, predominantly, is that what happens to you? Like, if you're doing a reading, how, like, talk me through like if you're like sitting with someone, how does it sort of start? How do you feel that there's information coming in? And then I'd love to go like into, I don't know if you ever receive information from past loved ones, and how does that come through, etc.
Yeah. Generally, I ask someone if they want me to focus on a particular question that they want to open up with, or if it's just a general kind of information. And then I just sit in silence. So a lot of my practice is just waiting to receive the information. I'm really big on silence.
Mm-hmm.
because basically the less I know, the more I get shown. And yeah, I work with all the senses. So I just wait to see what one wants to feature first.
Yeah.
And they usually open up. So sometimes it could be, yeah, smelling a particular scent, or it could be I'm hearing voices or I'm having visions. Um, a certain feeling comes over me, like I'm open to everything, and pretty much
Mm.
always have been. But I'd never presume what's going to drop in. So I just wait first, and I just say, look, yep, I'll just tune in, and then we'll get started. But basically, I'm waiting for a particular psychic sense to open up, and then that's when the information drops. And
Is it a feeling in your body though when you feel that it's dropped, like you said, like so? And
oh
what
yeah,
can you describe that in any way? Like, is it like a stillness, a calm, like?
it's a mixture. Sometimes it can be a stillness. Other times it's tingling in my body. Sometimes I get a bit of a push. It's like, oh, the information's come in and oof, I've got to give it. Or it's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's time now.
Yeah.
Um, if it's a vision, when I first started, it was like catchphrase. I'd have
I
one part
love
of
that
a word.
game.
I
Yeah.
know, yeah, totally. And it was just so trippy because all of a sudden I'd see one name of something and I was like, okay,
Mm.
that doesn't make sense. And then within seconds, another name would come in as like, that doesn't make sense. And then I'd actually visually see this and they'd come together. And it's like, oh, that. And it'd be the name of a person or the name of a
Yeah.
town that was really significant to the reader. Like, well, the person having the reading, sorry.
Have you ever had instances where this is just coming to me where you've had like so you're booked in with someone for the next day or whatever, and then you have dreams and then information comes through in your dreams, or is that never happened before?
Yeah, look, at in the early days, I used to
Mm-hmm.
get like a pre-sense of a theme or what, yeah, the reading was going to be about, or
Mm-hmm.
I call it sort of heads up. But these days, no. So before it would be like I'd get a vision of like hands and active hands, so whether they're gardening or building, and it's like, okay, I don't know what that means, but then going to the session and the person's wanting to know something about their work, which is to do with the hands, or they were thinking about, there might have been I don't know, a CEO in a big company, but wanting to become a builder, and go through a life
Mm-hmm.
change. And I'm going, well, I'm seeing lots of stuff happening with your hands. Are you thinking about building or changing? Because I'm seeing you change position, changing jobs. And it's like, yeah, I've always had a passion to be a carpenter. But these days, I don't. It's just more boom, straight in, and then I just get
And
shown.
I suppose you trust too now, like you've had so many sessions,
Oh,
you've
yeah.
and I suppose
Yeah.
with that, with the visions, like so for example, like I know I've understood that psychics are always looking for confirmation. So, you see the
Mm,
hands and then you have the conversation around like I'm seeing hands and, gardening or whatever. And then once you
yeah.
get the confirmation, like if the person doesn't validate
Yeah.
the picture, do you automatically get something different, another sensation or whatever? Or does it just keep staying there until they get what the message is coming, like, how does it?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, I've been in sessions where I was actually telling a friend this morning where, the session was for an hour and for 50 minutes, they couldn't understand or couldn't relate, or, yeah, I'd have deceased loved ones come through and I'd have names and visions of how they look. No, can't remember that. No, that doesn't make sense. And then right at the last minute, they go, oh, yeah, I had a Uncle Pete. And yeah, he did have a mustache. Now you talk about it. And I'm going, okay, great. As long as it makes sense to you. And then and I watch their body, and all of a sudden their mind
Mm,
and the whole system locks in and goes, right, that's what the whole session was about. Now I get it. And it's like, thank you. Great.
yeah, okay. Do you ever
Mm.
get nervous in that moment, like like have, like, I suppose in early days too, where you're just not getting any validation of confirmation?
Yeah, yeah. That's part of the training. So what makes a very clear psychic is someone who's happy to sit in silence in stillness.
Mm.
Because for me anyway, I work so much with energy. It's about the person having their light bulb moments,
Yes,
getting
the
the
aha
empowerment.
moment.
Yeah. So quite often in the silence, that's when what they've just heard come through all of a sudden filters into them. And then they get it. So whenever silence comes in, yeah. Because I always let people know, look, it's a very interactive session. So, because earlier on when I first started, it was me just delivering information that I was getting, and the person was sitting there quietly. But these
Yeah.
days, it's a conversation. Like it's a conversation about clarity. And yes, my job's to receive the psychic information and pass it on. But as long as they get clarity, then my job's done. Because it's about them. It's about the person walking away feeling clearer about where they're at in life and now what they want to do.
Okay, so I've just had something come to me. We were speaking earlier about inner voice and inner dialogue. So when and you said to me too that spirit will talk in, like, it's always unconditional love. So I know in my life I've had voices, it's like the internal dialogue, but they come in and it was negative and it was judging, and it was always in third person. So I was always saying you, yeah. And sometimes they were I generated thoughts that were negative as well. Um, have you experienced negative inner dialogue before, and what do you attribute that to?
Just as a person or as a
Yeah,
reader?
not
Just
not doing readings. That will I'll come to the question with that in a minute.
yeah. Oh,
So have
absolutely.
you, yeah, and what do
Yeah.
you attribute that to? So if spirit is supposed to be unconditional love, then what
Mm.
is the negative in your opinion?
For programming. So
Okay.
generational ancestral programming that's been passed down the lineage.
So then how do
So
we know if it's the programming in the mind talking or if it's spirit talking?
So if it's programmed, it's always judgmental. You should be
Oh,
doing
okay, yeah.
this. You haven't done that. What's wrong with you? Unconditionally by spirit is, had you thought of that? Have a go. Well done. It's all those kind of words and those kind of feelings as well. Yeah. So spirit basically wants you to be set up to receive. Whereas
Mhm.
old negative programming is the total opposite. It never wants to celebrate you and it never wants you to receive. So that's the
So
fundamental difference.
what advice do you give to someone
Mm.
who potentially might be hearing the negative and
Um, well, actually, interesting term of word because I never give advice. I always offer suggestions.
okay, let's go with suggestions
Yeah,
and guidance.
yeah. Because when people are leaning into a suggestion, they're all open.
Mm.
It's like, oh, I read
Yeah.
from their heart. Whereas if it's an opinion, they're going, oh, I wish I thought of that first. And it's like, no, no, no. What I
Mm.
suggest is always thank that inner dialogue coming in because you want to accept that it's there because every human being has that. Like
Yeah.
all of us, all how many billion, 8 billion, whatever, have inner dialogue. So you go, thank you, but no thanks. And then you focus on the outgoing thoughts. So they're incoming thoughts. Incoming thoughts, always judgmental, without a doubt. Every single one, judgmental, negative. Outgoing thoughts are about you leaning into your heart space and setting an intention for a better future, a near future, a better possibility. And that's
Mm.
spirit driven, which is tell me what you want so I can deliver it to you, which is unconditionally loving.
Okay, I want to ask the question of
Mm,
some spiritual psychics will resonate with light and dark. So there are
yeah,
high vibrational beings and there's low vibrational beings,
totally.
and like where do you stand on that? And if you do stand in the sense that potentially there are low vibrational beings,
Yeah.
do they ever try to interrupt sessions, and what does that look like?
Yeah, well, certainly as a reader, if you're in a low vibration, you're definitely going to be projecting a whole lot of your own personal kind of beliefs and
Mm.
to get a point across. And there are definite spirits in that vibration. So your job is to see them for what it is and to ask them to leave and to raise your own vibration even more. And I've always called it journey work because, I mean, people come into sessions in all sorts of different vulnerabilities. So their vibration generally is a bit lower because they're dealing with a whole lot of stuff, and they might be going through all sorts of trauma and disappointment and, whatever. I always invite them in. Basically, every client I speak to, doesn't matter whether it's in an expo or in my room here, I'd say welcome. So you're welcome into this energy, which is very high vibrational. We are journeying together. We're here together, and I've got you. It's okay.
So you're obviously human, therefore, have you ever had to postpone a session because potentially you are in a low vibration because of XYZ that might be happening in your life at the time, and then therefore weren't able to continue on with the work? Or are you able to shift yourself out of that, or like what?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm not in a good way, I never do a session. Spirit always redirects anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and which I always trust. So if I'm really not that clear, Spirit always comes in, and all of a sudden the person goes, I can't make it, or can I reschedule, or something happens anyway, unless I say it myself. And look, to be honest, the best way I found it about how my vibration was lower, and it's only happened once in my career over decades, was I was working in a shop, and this person came off the street wanting a reading, and I was the reader in the shop, and my boss was standing next to me in the counter, and this person came in and said, I saw you, this is the guy who's got the photo outside. And she said to the owner, is he a good reader? Like, how good is he? And my boss said, he's fantastic, he's really good. I said, yeah, I am really good, come in for a reading, let's explore. And it was the worst reading. I actually gave him money back. It was the worst reading ever because I went in with ego.
Right.
So from that day onwards, I then said, I'm very clear. I'm one of the clearest there is. I'm very clear at my job. I'm very clear at receiving, and I'm very clear at giving. I've never used that word good because it's judgment, because I don't know.
Yeah. What does good even mean? So while
Precisely.
you're on that, then, that you explained that you're very clear, how does one decipher what is imagination and what is intuition? Hard question, I know. Look, I'm hitting you with them, but I mean, if you
I like
just
it.
give it your best shot. I just
Sure. Well, I always find intuition is that very first answer after the question we've put out, or the thought we've put out linked to a question. And then the very next answer is intuition. Because what people tend to miss is they doubt that very next wording or insight or confirmation, and they keep asking the question. And then loads more answers come in and it gets confusing. Our job as a human being is to trust the very next thing that comes in after the question, because spirit is always around us going, here you go, here's your answer, be clear, receive.
So then you're saying that yeah, it does, but I suppose for me, I know how quick the monkey mind can go, and how quickly we can create in there. So it's like, I know you're saying the very first thing, but I feel like if I was to sit there and be like, okay, it's the very first thing to be like cat, paper, sand, and I'm like, what? Like,
so that's where, like, yeah. Because for me, intuition, spirituality is a practice. It's not following anything. It's a daily practice of being still. So when that first answer comes in, it's just as plain as anything. It really stands out because a lot of intuition and intuitive messages are the spark of clarity. I call it the psychic
Mm,
spark. That would be in the corner of your eye. Or, I mean, this is what I used to teach when I was running courses, was have your question and then just stay open to the answer. And if you're driving around your town, the answer will be a bus that just pulls out in front of you and it's the logo on the bus or the number plate on the car or a picture on a truck. It's that simple. And the more you
mm.
go, thank you, because gratitude plays a massive part, even if it doesn't make sense to you there and then, we're so intuitive, we know.
I
We all
suppose
have
the
intuition.
skeptic and the scientist in me goes, is that not just confirmation bias, which is where you're looking for something, so you'll seek to see it rather than allowing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, which is great because the skeptic part needs to be there to have space, to have
Mm,
distance. Otherwise, you're always leaning in and you're not trusting yourself. Because the whole idea is being a human being and living a human life is fantastic. And the confirmation is how fantastic it is. And that's
yeah.
then the balance of human and spirit. But if you're not believing it's fantastic to be in a human world, which is driving your car, going for a walk, being around kids, taking the dog for a walk,
Mm.
whatever, because that's where all the intuitive messages come in, your daily existence. It's not something that's special and only unique to a few. It's for all 8 billion of us, because
And
otherwise, yeah.
I think, and like again, as a science, like a scientist myself, and all the rest of it, and me still being a spiritual person, and this podcast being about bridging science and spirituality, I sit there wearing both hats. But you're right in the sense that it's not just asking the question and driving around and then seeing the bus and then going, oh, confirmation bias. It's all the time, like you just said.
Mm,
And I sort of explain it to people about the difference between, intuition and the mind just thinking is, before I was cutting up vegetables for making my dinner later, and I'm going, okay, I'll grab, this is what I'm hearing, I'll grab the next bit of spring onion. Oh, that's not enough. I'll grab another one and chop, chop, chop. I really need to check in with mum. No, I would hear, you really need to check in with mum.
yeah.
It's really like subtle in the background, and it's like, it
Mm,
sounds like a whisper almost, and I feel like it comes from behind my head, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, and I hear that as guidance, and that's intuition. Whereas some people will be like, oh, wouldn't realize the subtlety of what just happened, and they would call mum,
yeah.
not realizing that they were using their intuition at all, and that potentially that every single human on this planet is psychic, and that they receive information all the time, but they don't really understand what they're actually doing.
Exactly, and that's the difference. So when you're going to see a psychic for a reading, you're
Mhm.
expecting to know how to do that. You're expecting to live
Yeah.
in silence and a form of purity, because that's your job. It's not just to receive
Mm.
information or like I use tarot cards as well sometimes, or go into mediumship. It's I live a certain way because the person coming, paying me for a session is expecting
Mm.
me to live a certain way so I can be clear. Because there's a lot of psychics out there that aren't clear and they're in a low vibration and they really, I mean, and this is my kind of belief coming in, which is a judgment. Why are they working in the field?
Mm.
Because if
Okay,
you're
so
not
that,
clear,
I like that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is
mhm,
really good for the listener who's potentially on the verge of going, maybe I do want to see one, not sure.
yeah.
So, what is a good indication of a good psychic, and what are some red flags that you might be able to?
Mm.
And I know that this potentially leans into judgment, but I'm going to sit and allow you to do that because I just want to see what you say.
Yeah, I suppose the red flags is how they conduct themselves at the very beginning. So if they're
Okay.
pushy with the information or not engaging, because it's a customer service. So
Mm,
you do have to learn bedside manner in a way, or
yeah.
you're caring for the person in front of you. So if the person as a reader isn't caring, red flag, because they're making it
Mm,
about them and going, I'm so
yes.
special with my knowledge, I'm better than you. So if you're getting that feeling, even when you're reading the blurb or thinking about reading
Mm,
or ringing them or at an expo and you feel that, don't go with them. Because
mm,
ultimately, once again, for the other person, it's them trusting their intuition.
yes.
Okay?
That's it.
I mean, like,
I
I,
No, you go.
Um, quite often people come in and go, seeing you in an expo, it's like, oh, it was your hair that really made me think, or your connection to your Celtic roots, or it was just your smile, or the years you've been reading. Like, you never know what people are going to connect with.
Yeah, or
And
what they're judging their sort of decisions off.
yeah. And look,
I just wanted to share
mm,
an interesting experience that I had was
mm,
I'm not one to generally go to psychics. I think I expressed that to you when we
mm,
first started chatting, just because I'm trying to like tap into my own intuition and trust my own
yeah,
guidance and the rest of it.
mm,
But I did have this thing happen where I won a reading at an expo like last year, and I
yeah,
ummed and ahed and sat there and was like, do I go and just see what this person has to say, just to see what
yeah,
happens? And I went and sat down, but what I didn't like is um the person that was reading was kind of like, but that's true, and like telling me what I'm supposed to be feeling and
uh,
knowing.
yeah,
And is that like a technique or something? But I sat there feeling really like uncomfortable, and I was almost like sitting in my subjugation schema, which is where I'm like too scared to tell
yeah,
the truth and be like, that's actually not true at all, because I was
yeah.
people pleasing. And um I wonder sometimes if there's psychics out there that know that people don't want to embarrass them or make them feel uncomfortable, so they'll just agree with everything that they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Definitely big red flag. Yeah. If you feel like someone's telling you
Yeah, I was being
what
told.
is, absolutely no. No.
So yeah,
Because
you
just
shouldn't be feeling like you're being told. Like what kind of language would be being used? Like, I'm getting this. How does that sit? Or like, yeah, are you inviting
absolutely,
them into the conversation?
absolutely, yeah. Does this resonate? And sometimes I even say to people, look, don't worry if this doesn't make sense right now. It has a beginning, middle, and end. And it might happen in the 30 or 60 minutes in this session, or it might
Yeah.
happen within a week in your home.
Mm.
It will unravel because that's how spirit works. And I'm just a facilitator of spirit. I work with spirit. So this will eventually make sense. And I will say too that we literally just read a roadmap, which means
Yeah.
it gives the person the power of choice. Because I've had so many people come in and they really disempower themselves because they completely give over to you as the reader and go, tell me what I should do. And I was like, well,
Mm.
that's so inappropriate. That's not my job, because you have the power of choice. And if you choose
Yeah.
a different angle or a different pathway, the roadmap I've just seen over the last hour completely changes. Because it's like, why hasn't my boyfriend come in, or my
Well, that's one
girlfriend, or
timeline.
well, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, that job hasn't materialized. What happened in the last month or the weeks
Mm.
leading up to this reading? Did you change your mind? Did something happen that you felt it was not the right timing to leave? So I always give it back to them and go, what did you do? Because
Mm.
you're supposed to be empowering yourself, which is about your decisions. It's not about I know everything, because I don't. No one does. Even the greatest
Mm.
psychics in the world don't know everything. We're not meant to. We wouldn't be
No,
here as a human otherwise. It'd be
totally.
waste of time. So I actually
I
encourage people to be skeptic. It's actually, yeah, because they get so much more, because it offers that distance, that detachment, and to just go back home and then sit on it.
mm, I it's interesting. There's two things I want to speak about. One of them is I just did an episode on surrender and what the concept is and what it means. And when you're just describing some potential clients that you've had that are like, oh, well, this didn't happen, this didn't happen. It's like, well, some people believe that, they give their power away to spirit per se. And it's like, all right, I surrender, you'll sort it all out. And it's like, well, the thing about life is that we're co-creating with reality, and that manifestation is dreams plus action. So you can have your dream and you can ask spirit all you want, but if you don't take any steps forward to make that happen, then you're most likely not going to have that eventuate, and that timeline moves on. So I don't know, it's like you go to a psychic potentially for a timeline that is there, but it's up to you to put the action in for that to present itself, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're not creating the action, there is no reaction.
Absolutely.
And that's just me linking it to science and Newton's laws and everything, because for me, when I look at all of this stuff, it makes so much sense. And even the way that we receive messages, and I explain to people now about how our DNA is actually antennas. And I suppose my question to you is whether or not you have an answer for this, but do you potentially resonate with the idea that the body receives the information before the mind interprets? Or do you believe that the mind, okay. So you believe we're like an antenna, and then we like a sense, the sixth sense. So when we see the eyes transform the light energy into chemical and electrical impulses, and then we decode it as what we see. Do you see it as potentially we receive the message, decode that into electrical and chemical impulses, and then explain that in the brain as what you then tell the client? Is that how you sort of understand it?
Yeah. So what I let people know and definitely teach is it's a conversation between the heart and the head. So it's basically we receive it, and the heart, I kind of live in a way where the heart's the feminine principle of reflection and sitting with and research and gathering. And it's like, oh, I gather that feeling that's coming in and what's sort of moving through me. And then I'll need to send it up to the head, which I see it as masculine, which is action and doing in the world. And they need to converse. It's like, I'm feeling this, what do you think I should do? And I send that up to the head, and the head goes, well, I think you should do this. And then send it back to the heart. It's like, yeah, that feels really good. Let's go and do this. And even though that I'm using the word should, it's not a judgment. I'm not telling myself off or that I've done something wrong. I'm conversing with myself. And this happens all the time, seconds, constantly happening. So even when I receive...
Sorry.
No, that's right.
You and I are just like talkers. We're like...
But this is it. This is how I converse with spirit. So spirit speaks back like this. And it's like, how do you feel? Does this feel right? Like, keep going, because you're going to receive even more. And then, so I then receive the information, then I send it back up to the head, and it's like, yeah, we're good to go. And it's like, yep, all right, we'll meet spirit halfway. It's a 50-50 relationship, and spirit knows that. If it's not 50-50, even if it's 40-60, they step back. So that energy steps back and goes, we know you need more time to be clear. We'll give you space. We'll step back and allow you to research, do your human thing to get clearer. Then we'll look back in again. Are we 50-50? Can we meet? And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to share, when you started talking about the heart and the head, there's a whole theory about the heart having its own resonance and the mind having its own resonance. So heart and brain coherence. And it's funny, my understanding of how this works is, you go and you download all this information, download or research, and you're gaining all this information. And then you're feeling really aligned in your life. And you're like, I'm going to do this and I'm on this path. And so that means to me is that the heart and the mind coherence is like vibrating at the same frequency. And then all of a sudden we get on the wobble. And that means that, the heart is no longer aligning with that part of, I suppose, the journey or the mission. and maybe you're upgrading your information or you're getting new guidance from the heart, and then you feel uncomfortable and uncertain in life, and you feel like maybe you're lacking purpose or meaning, and then everything shifts again, and then we're back in coherence. And so that's just how
Mhm.
when someone's really low or whatever, I'm like, oh, you're just on the wobble, your heart and your head
Yeah,
aren't communicating efficiently at the
absolutely.
moment, and then we come back in. And it just makes so much sense to me on an energetic and a frequency level that that is 100% a possibility as to what exactly is going
Ab
on.
Definitely.
And so would you say that maybe when you're receiving information, your heart and your head coherence, your frequency is directly aligned with potentially the spirit or the frequency that is communicating with you, or the other person potentially? If you're, because you were saying before,
A
sorry,
mixture.
this is just me spitballing. You were
Mhm.
saying that you're actually reading the other person, and that everything
Mhm.
for their potentiality of what they're going to choose in the next moment is already within them. So maybe
Yeah,
are you like tuning into their frequency, and then you're
absolutely.
just being able to make it clear to them as to what is actually their
Yep,
potential?
that's happening as well. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
That makes sense. I wish I could
you're
see it. I
sharing
reckon
the
that you were
energy.
sitting across, yeah, you're sharing and communicating, and they just
Yeah,
don't know how to read it yet, potentially.
yeah. So
Hmm.
doesn't happen these days, but like if someone comes in or sees me and they're immediately crossed-armed or I'm, you know, as a reader, I expect to receive information within the first 10 seconds. So if it
Mm.
hasn't landed, then I start looking for other things, which is what's the block? What's happening here? Because I know how clear I am. If that isn't hitting, something's in the way. And I'll always say to the
Mm.
person, can you unblock your arms or uncross your legs? Like just stay open. Also, I'll do energy clearing because I'll ask them, I'm not receiving anything yet and I don't want to waste your time and money. Uh, I need to do some energy work to just clear it. Is that okay? Like I always ask for permission because we can't go on like this. I'm not receiving
Mm.
anything and I receive everything in a session. So let's clear this so you can really benefit from my gifts. That's what I'm here for. And then
Mm.
they relax. Because
Yeah.
sometimes they will come in and go, oh, you're full of crap and you don't know. And I'll go and
Do they actually say
tune
that?
in.
Sorry, do people
Oh,
actually?
sometimes. Oh, yeah. Well, I had the best one was I had a woman come in. I was working at a shop and she came in and she was struggling and I was getting information and she said, no, it doesn't resonate. No, no, that doesn't make sense. And I go, okay. And she always took a dog with her. She had a little dog. And because I speak with animals, the dog's jumped up on her lap and sitting across the table, and the dog's beeline for me and going, she's not telling the truth. This is what I see every day. This is what she's struggling with. I don't know why she's not telling you what she's struggling with, but this is what she's struggling with. And he just downloaded everything. And I just
I love
repeated
that.
exactly what the dog said. And she went white. And she said, how do you know that's what's happening in my home? And I said, because your dog's telling me. She said, what? What? I said, well, like this is what I do. If your soul's
Mm.
resonating to come and see someone like me, I'm gonna see, I'm gonna receive. And it's
I love it.
okay, but it's like you've brought your dog in for a reason. I'm an animal communicator. So it's like you want to be seen. It's like this is your
Yeah.
subconscious, your soul, your everything about you that's going, I'm struggling and I don't know how to just make the first move. And so I always give it's like a warm welcome of it's okay. We're all human.
Mm.
We all struggle.
Yeah.
So that's the green flag I look for a reader because
Yeah.
it's not
The
about their skill
welcoming.
set. Everyone can be skilled up, but not
Yeah.
everyone can be clear, loving, welcoming.
I wanted to just, that experience is really awesome. And I think for our listeners, I just want to see if you've got another one up your sleeve where there's just a confirmation that you're just like, it's just out of this world how this all has happened. Like I've had synchronicities in my life that sometimes I'm like, as if that just happened. Like even just before Christmas, having all these chairs just rock up at my house. It's like
Oh
a whole
yeah.
story. But yeah, do you have like a reading that you've been in and you've received some information and it's just wild how it all connected?
Yeah, actually, this was, where was I? 16 and a half?
Mm.
Was it 16? 17? And I went in and had a reading, and the reader said, straight away, she said, look, don't panic, but I need to give you some really full-on information. And she knew my mum as well. Like, my mum's very intuitive and was a reader and whatever. And she said, go and speak to your mum afterwards so it settles in you. She said, I'm seeing you have 3 near-death experiences in your life. And the third one is the decider whether you will stay here or not. And they're different. And the last one's when you're 21. And she reeled off some other years. And she said, but look out for the 21st year, because that's where you'll decide whether you stay or go. And I was like, all right, how do I receive that?
Yeah.
But I spoke to my mum, and then I was lucky that, well, not lucky, but I've always been very supported with different people and spirits and whatever. But in my 21st year, I was working in a factory, and I was making soaps and products and whatever, and I was putting the certain powder on the panel, and it just, the whole frame shook. And then I looked up, and then I just saw there was half a dozen poles from way up high just got loose and started falling down. And I'm looking at it, and it was just in that moment, the reading came back to me, and it was like, this is it. It was almost like everything just slowed down, because there were thick metal poles.
Yeah, would have
And I was
gone
like,
very
I'm going to be killed here. And it was like, do I want to stay or go? And I just immediately got stay. And then this rush of energy came over me, and it was like, move. And I just jumped, and they came crashing down, and I was okay. But I was just so grateful for that information, because some people go, oh, don't tell me about death or anything horrible. But as a reader, you have to have a relationship to pretty full-on information and full-on trauma. It's dark and light. It's the package. You can't kind of shut away from it, but you do speak to spirit and ask for the timing of it. Because sometimes in readings, I get a whole lot of information, and I go, is this the time to pass it on? They go, no, don't. Okay, I won't.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
And it might be that for some reason, 6 months later, they book in another time and they're open to it. And I always trust it, because it's not about me, it's about them.
I wanted to ask you, because you and I have had conversations outside of this podcast about my experiences of communicating with potential, other light beings or quote unquote aliens. So I wanted to understand, has that been your experience? And if so, what does it feel like? How do you know that's different from just the communication that you normally have with spirit?
So normally with spirit, whether it's just for me or for a reading, it's like a directive. It's like, this is what's on offer. This is what's possible. This is what we want you to open up to receive and lean into. I always know then that's that conversation. It's spirit that's turned up, And for me, spirit's the reflective part of the divine source. So I call spirit we, because it's a collective consciousness. When it's other beings, there's a whole other conversation. I've never forgotten, I was 16 in my bedroom. It was something like 3 a.m. I just got woken up. I was very awake, and I'm looking at this ball, this orb, and it was about that big, and it was just hovering in my bedroom. And I looked at it and I said, who are you? And then straight away the answer I got in my head was, who am I? Who are you? And then it freaked out, and then it flew out. I was like, all right. So I don't know what that was.
I love that.
I've had the best was, once again, sleeping. And because I'm very aware of how spirit works with me and how I work with it, I know, I've got a great imagination, but I know I don't make things up.
I'm similar to you with that. Yeah.
So once again, I'm sleeping. All of a sudden, I'm hearing sounds in my room, and I want to
Mm.
turn because I was facing the wall. Wanted to turn to see if there's someone in my room, and this hand just came up and kept me looking at the wall. And my body feeling was I was safe. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
anything horrible or negative or low vibration. And the voice that was coming from what was leaning on me and pushing my head down was saying, "It's okay, he's one of us. Come through." And then I heard all these little voices go, "Hey." And they just, my room was a portal. I don't know what they were and who they were, but they
Oh,
had little
yeah.
voices, and they just walked through. And there was probably, this went on for about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So there must be a lot walking through. And I was desperate to turn and look, and no, I was forced to look the other way. And then I heard the very last one go through, and he go, "Yep, okay, all good." And then the hand left me and went off, and I looked, and there was nothing there. But I knew.
Yeah.
I've also had 5 beings come in, and they were just cloaked, and they were really tall, and I'm looking at them.
What else could you tell me about them if you could describe them? Or is it just, did you say they're cloaked, but they have a
Yeah,
face?
no, I couldn't see their face in their cloak.
Mm.
They just
Yeah.
showed up with a cloak. So I don't know what planet they were from. They weren't human
Yeah.
because there was 5 of them, one stepped forward and made clicking sounds, and I couldn't understand them. And I said that telepathically, I don't know what you're saying. Another one stepped
Yes.
forward and started translating in English. And they just said, "We know you exist. We see you. We're here to support. So whenever you need us, call us. We're here." So I was like,
And
okay.
again, did you not feel scared? Like it felt yeah.
Yeah. Just felt
I
very
question,
okay.
because I've obviously had experiences similar to you, and I question whether, with the whole cloaked thing, I don't know if were you dreaming when you experienced this, or were you awake?
No, I was awake.
So then it's like, okay, because when I've had experiences too, it's like, I wonder if the vibration, because the way our brain interprets frequency is, if it doesn't, we don't have an imprint for that frequency, our mind potentially could create from the frequency that it's receiving, as in what it might look like, because
Yeah,
we don't have a reference point. So I wonder
absolutely.
sometimes, like when we don't have the other thing I understand about aliens and like light beings and whatever, I explain
Mm,
it like this: when a fan is stationary, you can see all the what do
mm,
you call them, rungs. But when the fan
mm.
is spinning, you see right through it.
Yeah,
So, if something is vibrating at a frequency that is not of that is of
yeah.
tangible material on this earth, then you're not going to
Mm,
see it per se. But if you're still picking up on the frequency, I question whether or not your brain, because again, the body receives it and then our brain interprets it, if it
mm.
uses some sort of imagery to give to that. Because I know there are people that have had experiences with, entities like the one that you're explaining, and then it's like, oh, well, that's not the Greys and that's not the Nordics and that's not, because
Mm.
there's like some, people have had experiences with certain races and they describe what they
Yeah,
look like, but maybe
yeah,
not everyone has the ability to describe that bandwidth, and maybe you can
yeah,
telepathically communicate but not actually see the being. Does that make
yeah.
sense?
It does make sense because earlier on, Spirit told me, because back in the 80s it was like, well, who are you channeling, and which archangel, and it was all this hierarchy
Mm,
and ego,
yes,
and
yes.
if you're channeling certain beings, then you must be the real deal, and if you're not, no one
Mm,
will listen to you. It was awful. And in that time I just asked Spirit, well, I don't have names for the places these beings are coming from, or like, do I need to know? And they said, well, if you had the name George, would that make a difference? Because
yeah.
we know this is real, and we know you
Mm,
listen and you participate. Do you need to have a name? And I go, well, no, I don't, because I know they're real, and I know what feels fine and of high vibration and what doesn't, because I trust it. And I've also had experiences with very low vibrational beings, and it's like, it's awful.
Yeah,
It's scary,
me too.
and
Yeah.
it's, and it can be violent and traumatic, and that's part of connection, because you're meant to have a boundary around working with spirits.
Well, it's also, it was teaching you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's like something I speak about with this 7th dimensional consciousness, is that there is no light and dark. They just work together to teach us what we need to know. And so that
Totally.
helped me reflect on my early childhood and my adult experiences with dark energy, as to just being like, well, it's made me who I am today. And I wouldn't be having this podcast. I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I hadn't had all of these experiences and wanting to understand how it's possible, potentially on a scientific basis. But yeah. As people just are very skeptical for things that they can't quantify, but that's because we've been programmed to only believe in quantifiable information. But I mean, we're getting to the point now in science where they're almost ready to say that consciousness is fundamental, meaning that, they used to say time and space were the fundamental things, that everything is explained by those phenomenons. And whereas if consciousness is fundamental, it means that everything is created from consciousness, which is like, God, source, energy, frequency, etc. We're nearly at the end, but I wanted to ask you, if someone wanted to become more receptive, what would they need to unlearn rather than learn?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
You can take a second to think about it.
Yeah, wow.
A hard one.
It goes back to the programming. It's catching yourself going into old familiar thoughts and patterns of ways of talking, ways of thinking, because ultimately, to be clear, you have to unlearn, and a lot of the greats, artists of all genres say that, everyone can be a technician, because every human being has the ability to learn and to be skilled up. But what makes a person fantastic at what they do is that they throw away the books. At one point, they just throw away everything and trust what comes through them. So the unlearning is a part of learning.
Yes,
because
that makes sense. And trusting.
Because not one person has the answer. So my guides now are everything and anything within the room. Like, I was just in a question a couple of days ago, and something you just said just dropped in the answer. So it's like, I didn't know that, but you became my guide. So it's like, thank you.
Yeah.
That's how I receive clarity. Instead of me going, well, I know everything and I know what I'm supposed to receive and get this and put this pressure on, I just stay open. It's like, I have no idea. And I trust when I hear it and when I feel it, and it's like, the penny's just dropped. So that's me unlearning that, because I'm a reader, I know more than you. It's like, crap, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I just trust that. I was in a question a couple of days ago, just received the answer. Beautiful.
So what is one simple way listeners can begin tuning into their own bodily intuition? What's something that they could do?
Well, generally the biggest one is like goosebumps or tingles, which means it's like confirmation of, this is true. Like, this makes total sense. Also, to actually don't be afraid to ask for specific signs. I don't know who, someone said years ago, if you need a yellow umbrella to turn up as confirmation of what you're feeling and what you're picking up is true, ask for a yellow umbrella. Be specific. And then all of a sudden, the next day you see a yellow umbrella and it's like, great, okay. What I'm receiving, what I'm getting is true. Like, don't be afraid to really go into very specific information, because spirit loves delivering it. It's a game. It's almost like game of chess. not to
Yeah.
outdo each other, more, oh, what move are you going to make? Oh, this is my move. It's like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah, I love
So,
that. And I do that. I play with spirit like that.
yeah, totally.
100%.
So it's supposed to be fun because human beings are very serious and living life is very serious. So they'd like to lighten it up. Like one of the best is, I don't know, I was feeling angry one day, taking my dog out for a walk, and we have a very particular way of how we communicate, and she knows what to do. And this one day, as soon as she got out of the car, she just ran off, and I'm yelling at her, come back. She never runs off, and I'm yelling, and then a couple of minutes later she comes back, she looks at me and sends a message. Now, did you get it all out of your system? Do you feel better now? Can we carry on? Can you lighten up? I'm sick of you. Did you just get it out? I helped you. And she's like wagging her tail. I'm like, oh, you bugger.
That's so
Thank
funny.
you. I do feel
I love
better.
that. Yeah.
And then we had a great play. But
Oh.
so it's just trusting kind of what shows up. That is intuitive.
Yeah.
'Cause we're always
Again, I'd
supporting
sort of
you.
believe that there's no such thing as coincidences. There's only synchronicities. I don't like the word
Yeah.
coincidence anymore.
No.
Everything is energy. Everything's aligning. Everything is moving in ways that life is happening for us, not to us. We're not victims. We have choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on and being so
Yeah.
open and honest.
pleasure.
And for those of you who are watching this, every time I'm looking like this, it's actually because I'm looking at Geraint's face and I
know.
like to be able to interact with the energy. So that's why I'm flicking back and darting around. But you all will get it, and those that aren't watching it won't even matter. But I wanted to sort of where can people find you? Where can they book a reading with you? Can you give us all the information?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on all the socials. So Facebook page is The Magic of Shamanism. I've got different videos of how I work and receive information, and different courses and workshops I've run over the years. YouTube, I've got so the YouTube, I think URL.
I can put the links for your stuff in all of the platforms. So yeah, just that's fine. I'll put the links below for everyone. I'll do that thing.
Because I'm on Instagram and the whole lot, and TikTok, and
what's your Instagram tag?
At Geraint Seren, but all lowercase.
Yep.
I think that's
Easy.
correct. Yeah. Still getting used to the technology.
I know, and all the hashtag this whatever social media, such a necessary evil for the work that we do to get it out into the world.
Absolutely. But yeah.
So I always put a song on at the end of an episode. So today's no different, but I feel like I'm going to play one I've already played, which is Alien, because we discussed aliens at the end of the episode. Brilliant. So I just want to say thank you for coming on, and to everyone listening, if you like the episode, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, please click the follow button. And the world doesn't need saving, people do. And if we give the people the tools to save themselves, we save the world. So thank you to Geraint.
Very philosophical. Thank you.
Much love. Bye.
Likewise. Okay.
To the moon, we
monsters who live just not under your bed. What's impossible becomes possible. So what if I told you? What if I told you I was alien and not just me, but so were some of your friends? Would you believe in something greater than just what you hear on the television? What if I told you I was alien? What if I told you I was alien? If what's impossible becomes possible, and what is possible was never true, it's not impossible, then it is possible that I am alien, and so are you. What if I told you I was alien and not just me, but so were some of your friends? Would you believe in something greater than just what you hear on the television? What if I told you I was alien? What if I told you I was What if I told you I was alien? Would you believe me? Could it be true?